Dave, good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning, Rich. It's good to see you.
I know we've been trying to make this happen for some time now, and I'm so glad it finally happened.
Yeah. I don't remember what the last thing was, but it just didn't work. So,
Yeah, it
uh,
was
thanks for having
probably me.
me.
Um, I will read your bio here, Dave, so that folks know. I know that several people offline, when they saw the promotion for your appearance on the show, were very excited. I know my brother dabbles in leather work, and we have another person who's a member of the American Warrior Society, one of our members, and he makes custom bags himself. So I know that he was very excited to hear how you guys do it. So, uh, Dave Munson, founder and CEO of Saddleback Leather Company. Dave is a globally recognized. Dave Munson's brand, Saddleback Leather Company, is a globally recognized brand known for crafting over-engineered leather bags built to last 100 years. His journey began in a small leather shop in Mexico with one goal: make it so tough my grandkids fight over it when I'm dead. Since then, he survived jungle treks, car crashes, and even an assassin, all with his trusty leather bag in tow. Today, Dave leads Saddleback alongside his wife, Suzette, creating world class products while giving back through their sister brand, Love 41, and outreach initiatives in Rwanda, Mexico, and Texas, with partnerships including Toyota, the Texas Rangers, and Martin Guitar. Dave continues to build with purpose, using business as a vehicle to love people and lift communities. Man, I love that. Good for you, man. That's living your dream. I absolutely love it.
Well, whenever you do anything, if you do anything that's significant or affects people's lives, it's going to be hard. You're going to all of a sudden get resistance. If you live for yourself and you're just here for me, you know what? Strangely, it, you just lie there and let a sleeping dog lie, kind of thing. Nothing happens, and life can be easy but boring.
It's very true. I, I wrote these questions again maybe a month ago when we were first going to get together. And I'm excited to finally hear the answers to some of them. And I guess I'll start with the first one, kind of like, what was the inspiration behind the initial design, and kind of take us back to the story behind the very first bag and that little leather shop in Morella, and then kind of walk us through what were you doing in Mexico that day in 1999?
Yeah, so I was my youth pastor from when I was in the youth group. I had gone on from there, and I became a youth pastor at my dad's church, and I burned out. Everyone was mad at me for every break and everything and stains and all that stuff. So I went down. My youth pastor said, "Hey, could you teach English and come down join us? You just got to raise 300 a month, and we would love to have you down in Morelia in central southern Mexico." So I was like, "That would be awesome." So I moved down for a year, and while I was there, I would walk a lot, back and forth to home and everything. I needed a bag to carry my books, and I had like my college Jansport backpack or whatever it was, and I thought, what would Indiana Jones carry? Yeah, that's what I need. So I looked all over the city. It's in a leather rich area, and so I was going through all the markets, couldn't find one like I liked, but I found one. Um, I found a guy making bags, so I sketched it out. This bag that I had in my head, I sketched it out, and and oh my gosh, everywhere I went with that bag, people were stopping me. Where could I get a bag like that? I got back up to Portland, Oregon, where I'm from, and uh, man, I got stopped 4 or 5 times a day sometimes. Just like, "Excuse me, sir, where could I find a bag like that? Where could I buy one of those?" And I thought, "Oh, bingo. Maybe maybe this could support youth work, and then I wouldn't have to get a job, and I could just volunteer anywhere." And so I had some more made, and sold them on eBay. I moved to Juarez with my black lab, Blue, and I. We just slept on the floor of a little $100 a month apartment, and and no hot water for 3 years. And
Holy
so
moly!
yeah, so anyway, that was, that's how it got started.
You were living in Juarez?
You know what? When I see all the bodies and hanging from bridges and
My
stuff like that
gosh.
in movies, Sicario, or, or on the news, the cartel and all that, I think, oh, those are my people right there. That's my heart. I'm not kidding. It was a tough place, but those were good times in my life too, and so I've got an affection for Ciudad Juarez, like deep in my heart. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, and I think the drug war down there really didn't Juarez didn't become the war zone that it became until maybe 2006, 2007. I
And
mean, it was always dangerous. Don't get me wrong, but
so in 2006, early, I was in Panama, taking pictures of my bag, and with my brother and my uncle, and I I was checking eBay to see how my bags were doing. My dad was shipping my bags for me,
mhm.
and I looked on eBay first. Wow, they were going for $710 a piece, and then I looked on MySpace, and there was this pretty little girl, big girl, woman, and she asked me about my school, and I thought, wow, she's so pretty. She loves God. She's loves her family. I looked at her profile. She had a picture of her gutting a deer, and I
Mhm.
said, oh my goodness, I must marry that woman. So I got back up to the U.S. and moved to San Antonio, Texas, to marry her. Married her just a few months later, but I took her back to Juarez just after I moved out, and it was empty. And I was like, "What's going
Mhm.
on?" Went to the market, showed her my old stomping grounds, drove all over the place, and then we were coming out of Juarez, and the border guy goes, "What are you doing here?" The war on drugs had started. There were these
Yeah.
armored vehicles with, 50 cals on top, and I mean, it was like a military zone, and "What do you mean, what am I doing here?" "You haven't heard?" And
Yeah.
there were like 3,000 murders a day, and I mean, or a month. It was a mess.
Yeah.
Oh, but I didn't know. Yeah, it happened just after I left.
Yeah, you were lucky to make it out, that's for sure. Let's welcome some folks onto the show. We got Michael Gentili is on joining us. Will Rhodes is on. Says, good morning, Rich and
Hey,
Dave from
good morning.
Missouri. Derek is on. Let's see here. Brian, Bruce, Jason says, good morning, gentlemen from Kansas. Just living the dream. Remember, nightmares are still dreams. Doug is on from Columbus, Ohio. My lovely bride, Miss Lisa, is on. Good morning, Miss Lisa.
Good morning, Lisa.
Um, so you talk about it. Let me go back to the bag design because my wife who's on this one will tell you I am a bag person. I can't pass a backpack without looking at it and thinking about why did they put the pockets where they put it and would I sling it. And I've spent a lot of my life getting on and off military aircraft and travel. So a purpose built bag is always intriguing to me. Like I won't go with a bag that won't slide underneath the front seat of the uh, aircraft. Anyway, so was it like I need something to carry my books in, but I also need this pouch and this pocket? How far down the rabbit hole did you go with the initial design?
Oh, I had never really thought about it before. And so I just said, I want the simplest, easiest, plainest bag that I can have. So just give me a big old cavern. Give me
Mm,
4 walls and a flap. And I want
mm,
2 straps to come over the top and, buckle in the middle, but 2 straps to come around that I can take off that would be, my waist size and that I could tie things down with. And I was like, "Could you just give me that?" And so I got it, and I was like, "Oh, this is so cool." I was so proud of it. Carried it empty sometimes. I loved it. And then I was like digging for pesos and pens. And so I went back to the guy. I said, "Could you put a pocket in there?" And then as it just went along, "Could you put D-rings on so I could tie stuff to it on the outside
mm.
for a big trip I had coming?" And then I just kept going. I kept, "Oh man, I wish it made into a backpack. Oh man, I wish this, I wish that." And as I was never satisfied with it, and that's kind of a curse, to see how you could improve everything, particularly in a marriage. That doesn't work. Like,
No,
"Hey, honey, here's how you could improve."
no.
So, yeah. So I just kept getting it better and better, and now I don't think I could make it any better. I've changed it. The original bag, I've changed it like 10 times.
No
So
kidding.
I don't know how it could. And now I'm very, very happy with it. So,
I was in Greece one time and I was looking for a leather bag. And at the time, my job was I was a Ford observer. So I needed a place to put my maps and map pins and compass and all this kind of wanted a one little small, though, it had to be small. And there was a little leather shop and these kids were running it. I think the parents had probably like, hey, mind the shop for just because I mean, they were little kids, like 9, 10. And it was drachmas back then. And I had a little calculator. I'm doing the calculation and I hand the kids the money and they're giving me too much back. And I'm like, I'm telling the children, I'm like, look, no, 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 no. This is you need to keep this because they were giving me like twice what I had paid for it. And I'm saying, and I know the conversion was difficult. It was difficult for me as a 22-year-old guy. And the girls were, these little kids were like, no, no, no. I said, look, just tell your parents, they'll figure out the math. I'm walking away from this. Keep the money. But yeah, Michael says a Ford observer in Greece, right? Yeah. Well, we were on a ship, buddy. John is on from Yukon, Oklahoma. So glad to have you guys watching us this morning. You talked about adventures with your bag. Can you share some of your favorite stories, maybe that highlights the toughness and character of the bag, and maybe even talk to us a little bit about this assassination attempt?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, no, so I've taken the bag. So I remember I was laying in Juarez and I was thinking, man, what could I do to how cool would it be if I could travel around the world and I could stress the bag out and I could say, hey, Dave here with Saddleback Leather. Check out this really cool bridge here in Bosnia. It's amazing. It's called Starry Most and blah 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 blah. But first, let me show you my bag.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I thought that'd be really cool. No, I have to do ministry stuff. So anyway, I ended up getting married. I'm sorry, guys, if you hear anything in the background. I'm at my warehouse. We're building our headquarters right now, and I hear something outside.
I love it.
Do you hear
That's
that at all?
authenticity. Yeah, it's authenticity, Dave. I
Yeah,
love
we're building this place out of solid leather,
it.
1,000,000 pounds of leather bricks,
Whoa.
and but anyway, so yeah, so uh, yeah, so I would take these bags and I would use them, and I was in Czech Republic one time and I was carrying my suitcase. I had a briefcase and a suitcase, and I was in Prague, and the handle broke. That was in 2005. The handle broke, and I swore I will never ever put anyone through this ever. And so I got back and I said, guys, let's reinforce the heck out of this. And it was because of it not being constructed very well that I said, I'll just keep improving it, keep improving it, keep improving it. So yeah, that was my durability story was that it wasn't durable. But I've thrown them to crocodiles. I threw one, wrapped it with a bag, and wrapped it with a rope and threw it to some crocodiles in Zambia. And at one time we had 4 on it. It was a big duffel bag. We had 4 on it, and they were doing rolls against each other, and ended up with 2 main ones, and they were both wrapped around their snouts and stuff. It was beautiful. It was so beautiful. And we finally got to one and hoisted the thing up, got it around a pole, and had some leverage, and I was poking at its jaw, trying to get it to drop. It was right in front of me, and finally got it back, and it stayed in pretty good shape.
Really?
I put a mule leg in there one time, and I tied it to a tree, and then the lions came and just shredded it, kind of. That, and it was beautiful. It was beautiful. So we do these kind of a little more natural tests on the bags. So yeah,
Do you film these at all, Dave?
yes,
Where can we find these online?
yeah. YouTube, Saddleback Leather YouTube channel. We've got our most beautiful ones there. Yeah, so it's a lot of fun, and so I think people enjoy it when you're enjoying. And we take the family with me all the time, and we always go together. And people like that when they see family, they see people enjoying life, they see, and you're laughing the whole time. It's not like you're not laughing.
Right.
Um, and so I don't know, people when you smile, people smile.
Life's too short, man. I mean, it really truly is. I say this to my bride all the time. Like, hey, I'm dying. And the sooner you realize that, the more fun you can have. Like, time is limited. Let's enjoy what God has given us.
I have people go, "Oh, lucky you." No, um, blessed because I made the decision to travel, or because we don't have a cable television or streaming services. Yeah, so then we we make choices. You make choices,
That's
and
right.
one of those choices is to collect memories and not collect things as much. Um, and so yeah, it's not lucky me. It's hey, that's cool how you made those decisions.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
I 100% agree with you. There's no such thing as luck. We all get the same 24 hours in a day. And I had a friend of mine who's recently taken over as the head of this nationwide organization. He's like, yeah, I kind of feel bad for this part of his team. And what do you think? And I said, hey man, we all got the same 24 hours. Just I don't know what to tell you. I'm not feeling sorry for anybody. You got to do with what you got, and don't make excuses. Just make it happen.
The ones I feel sorry for are people like myself at times. But when,
Fortunate, Dave.
yeah, but when there's this people, I get 3 or 4 offers a week to buy the business or invest in it or something like that. Emails, and I just delete. But every once in a while, I say, "Man, I have plenty of time in my life. I get to spend time with my family. I get to travel. We have a lot of fun. It's a ministry for me, and." You want to take that away from me by growing this thing or investing in my business? And then what? Now I have managers and directors, and I have a president and a CEO. And then I'm like, why? Why grow?
I agree.
And we're making these boots in Italy, and the way they do it is in shoes and stuff. The way they do it in this community is in the U.S. or in Mexico, they'll go, no, we do the heel stack, we do the sole, we do all the cutting, we do stitching, we do assembly, we do finishing, we do everything. In Italy, they're like, why? Why don't you share it with everyone? So they'll have one company does heel stacks, one company does the sole, one company cuts and sews the uppers, and then these last set is everyone assembles together. And they're like, I have enough. And they'll have a leather inspector who's been doing it for 25 years. And a cutter, he's been doing it for 30 years. Like, how long has that guy been doing that? Oh, about 30 years.
Yeah.
But they're happy. They don't have stress in their life. So I feel sorry sometimes for people who just feel driven to grow, make money. I got to grow, get all expenses at whatever cost. So I'm not opposed to, making money and stuff, but man, you got to really evaluate that.
I agree with you 100%, Dave. Look, I encourage everybody, especially the younger folks, people at mine at Dave's age. I mean, yes, a book like this is still valuable, but the psychology of money. What is your relationship to money? And for me, it's freedom tokens, right? It's the ability to be free to go where I want, do what I want, and spend time with who I want, and have the experiences I want, and eat amazing foods and have really rich experiences. And I have friends that are they're a slave to it. Money tells me I've got to invest it here. Money tells me I've got to, it didn't tell me anything, so it's all about, I guess your frame of reference, I guess.
Yeah. So, part of it too is what I found is relationships, and giving are where joy is stemmed from. I mean, my relationship with God is the root of everything, and all of the joy and peace, even in storms, is rooted out of that deep fulfillment in
Mhm.
my life. I was just cool, not a religion. Jesus didn't go, hey, come and join my religion. He said, come and follow me, spend time with me.
Mhm.
And so that has given me tremendous fulfillment, but in actual like living life, uh, giving to people and um, and also relationships. My son, my daughter, my wife, my friends, church. Um, those are where beautiful. That's where the joy and fulfillment comes in. It's other people. It's not me. It's other people.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And that I definitely want to talk about your faith because um, it's very important to me. And with the American Warrior Show and American Warrior Society, my business partner and I, and we've been friends. We met in combat in 1991 in Desert Storm, and we've been friends and cops and Marines together the entire time. And we really, and we're both, Christians, and but we made a business decision at first, like we don't want to cram our Christianity down anybody's throat. We want to be there and be a good disciple, but we were going to call it the American Christian Warrior Society, right? But anyway, I think at the death of Charlie Kirk, really, I never do a show now without a statement of faith. I want to be very clear and unambiguous about my love for Christ and the relationship I have with Him. Where before that wasn't always something that was this from your business model from the beginning. I guess is where I'm going with this, Dave. Like that, it was your faith in Christ was part of the centerpiece of the business. You're muted, Dave.
There was a bunch of beeping going on right behind me.
Those forklifts.
Darn forklifts. Yeah. So we had no, I was under the impression from what the Bible said that our life is short. It's like a vapor. It's gone. And so thinking eternally, so like imagine my finger here, at the tip of it's where I'm born, and then we graduate high school and we get married, have kids, and then we retire. And then these last 15 years, a lot of people live for those last 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, dude, you're crazy. You're crazy. You're living for those last 15 years to collect seashells until you die, like in peace. Like that's awful so I'm thinking about the next, imagine if my finger were a rope and my index finger were the tip of it. And it kept going out the room, went around the world a few times, went up around the moon and over around Jupiter, just took off. It just took off that rope. And that's the rope is the timeline of my existence. Mm. And that's what the Bible says. So I just believe that it's true. And I'm 100% confident that it is. And because God said it. And so if that's true, then how we live our life and what we live our life for here on earth determines all the rest of it. And so, I don't know, is this like an audition or something? We're going to have jobs. I think we're going to have kids, I think, for eternity. There's some evidence in the Bible. And so I'm thinking, but what will be our responsibilities and all that kind of stuff? And my wife was like, hey, are we going to be married forever in heaven? And stuff? I said, well, not in heaven, but when we get back down to earth, like maybe, I don't know. She goes, I'm not going to have that sin nature, and I'm going to have a perfect body. I was like, oh yeah, baby. Maybe it wouldn't be that bad forever. So yeah, so my perspective on my existence is different. If I thought I'm only going to exist for the next 30 years or something like that, I think I would live differently. No, actually I wouldn't live differently. I really enjoy my life. So but I can see how people, if they didn't think they were going to live forever and there was no consequence to anything, I can see how they might live in a maybe more of a self-oriented way.
Yeah. Tony is on, and let's see, James is on from Massachusetts. Edmund Scarborough is on. Good morning. Jeff is on, says, good morning, everyone. I hope all are well. Great to finally hear from you, Dave.
Great to hear from you, Jeff.
And Tony says, what kind of leather and what weight is your product made from?
Yeah, so I've got my general briefcase is 4 to 5 ounce, around 5 ounces, is thick. So let's say 2.2 to 2.2 millimeters thick, and then I line it with a really thick pigskin, like 1.5, 1.3 millimeters, so 3.3 to 3.2 to 3.5 millimeters thick, and so it's full grain. Which so for the leather, if you had a roof and you had the decking on it, and then you had tar paper or the membrane, whatever they have these days, and then shingles. The shingles are like the grain on your leather, and so mine has the full amount of grain on it, and so it's the toughest, it's the tightest, it's the most dense, resistant to stains, and it's just the great stuff. And so our bags are we have a lot of places will just sand off the scars to get rid of the scars on the bag to make it real pretty, and so now they only have a little bit of grain on top. That's top grain. So we have those, and then we have a leather from Italy that we're using on a new collection. It's more not what would Indiana Jones carry, but what would James Bond carry. A little more refined, a little more sophisticated. You know, you could wear it with cufflinks and they would fit right in with your, your suit and that sort of thing. And that's 1.8 to 2 millimeters. That's like a solid 4 ounce boot leather. So,
Okay.
yeah, there you go.
Well, thank you. Giles on from the Philippines. Jason says a huge flex Saddleback range bag. Yeah, I would love to have one of those.
You want to see something really cool?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hold on right here.
Hope you guys are enjoying this with Dave. Yeah, look at this. Whoa.
Oh, strange you should mention range bag. So
you give me the solo layout there, Dave, so everybody could see this. Wow.
So funny you should mention range bag, because here we go, and it's got this old English closure. This is a prototype, and it could work for tools, or it gets the hammers and whatnot in there. I'm still working on the shape of it. I gotta firm up these corners and the bottom. I don't want it soft. I have straps underneath. You could put a level in there, or you could put whatever you needed to. But anyway, yeah, that's the.
When will that be available, Dave? You have a release date for that?
If I can get that thing designed where it maintains its shape, this has been a hard one, where it doesn't just get floppy on the bottom. That'll be Father's Day, so end of May, early June.
There you go, guys.
There you go. We're gonna have a bunch of killing stuff for late summer for killing deer and whatnot.
Love it.
Yeah.
Jeff says, which bag in your collection is the closest to your original that you made?
It's my classic briefcase. So it's got 2 straps around it. It is my original design. It's 16 inches wide, so it fits all laptops. It has a hidden flap in the bottom for cash, or when I travel, I always take $100 bills with me, 3 or 4 $100 bills. Well, now I'm probably going to get mugged if someone's listening. Like, I want that cash in his backpack, in his briefcase. So that one is that's the one right there, and the straps come off. You can tie things down with it, and works as a belt, works as a dog leash if you got to take the dog into the vet or on a walk, that kind of thing. So,
and it's called what again, Dave? Just so I'm clear.
It's my classic briefcase.
Classic. And does it have all the modifications that you did to it over time?
Yep.
Or is it the original?
That's based off the original. Oh, that is the original that's been modified like 10 times. Okay, perfect.
So Jason says, holy crap, just take my money now on the range bag.
Yeah, so many. I had a bag. I called it the weekend bag, or the overnight bag. I forget what it was. Anyway, it was a smaller bag, and I named it. I named it wrong. I should have named it range bag. And I realized after I discontinued it that people were going, "You discontinued my favorite range bag." And oh man, that's the best bag ever. And so I made it even better with this one. I shortened it and made it a little longer for, if you wanted your gun cleaning stuff in there or whatever. So,
all right. Yeah. Dr. Fuller is on from South Carolina. Good morning, Dr. Fuller. Glad to have you on, sir. We didn't touch on the assassination attempt. Is that something you're comfortable talking about?
Yeah. I wrote a book. Check this out. This is where, in fact, hold on a second. I wrote it in there because it's kind of a long story, but I did that. That's my dog.
I love it.
That's at the place with my old Land Cruiser behind me. That's at the place um, that it happened. Um, so I'll briefly tell you this most of it. Um, well, let's start of it. So I was selling land around Mexico City, sort of little west of Mexico City, in this golf course kind of place, and I was learning Spanish, and I was trying to get some more bags made, and so I needed a job, and so this guy says, "Can you sell real estate?" And I was like, "Of course." This is a Pope Catholic, It was like it's like, oh crap, I got to figure this out, how this works, and so I got a job selling land around this golf course. Well, one of my clients came in out of Mexico City. It was a Jewish group, and they wanted a kosher, Orthodox Jew retreat area, and
Mm-hmm.
so they wanted about 40 acres, and the golf course just didn't have that, have something for them. So I had a neighbor who I forget what I named him in the book. I had to change it in case he was still alive. But he said, "I've got some land, and I'll give you 10% whatever you can sell of this land." So I showed the Jews this property, and they're like, "This is perfect. $400,000 is what it would be." My commission was 40,000. Well, my boss at the country club said, "Hey, I want my commission on that." And so I told Mario, and I said, "Hey, Carlos wants part of the money. He wants the commission too." And he goes, "Oh, don't worry about him. I'll have him killed." And I go, "Oh, yeah, of course." What was I thinking? Like, of course. I was like, "How do you do that?" And he's like, "Oh, well, a lot of times we'll just throw him out in front of the truck at night, on the semi on the highway, or we'll pour alcohol over him. It'll look like he was drunk. Or I have a Mexican federale that does some different ones that do these things." And I go, "Well, how much does that cost?" And he's like, "Oh, it's like $2,000 or $3,000. I was like, "Man, that's a good deal. That's a deal at twice the price." And so, then I realized he owes me 40,000. Oh, so I wrote up a contract real quick, and I said, if I'm not here to collect, any one of these people can collect. Anyone in my name with a identification can collect my commission. They're like, "Oh man, now I have to give him the commission." Well, he wouldn't sign it, and the next day, I look over my shoulder. I'm at this wedding at night. It was an outdoor wedding in this little town I was living in, and I looked over my shoulder, and one of Mario's sons was pointing at me with this big gorilla of a man next to him. And I looked, I was like, "What?" And this guy comes over. He was a federale, and he snorted some cocaine, and we just started talking, and I was like, I've never seen anyone really snort cocaine right there, and so it was kind of whoa. And then he offered me a beer, and I had already had a couple beers at the wedding and stuff, and so I go, "No, I'm gonna get heartburn and stuff if I have beer too late at night. Thank you though." He goes, "You want me to kill you right now?" And I go, "That's not a great way." Like, "No, of course not." Like, "Actually, you know what? I could go for a beer." And so anyway, so I thought he had known my passport. He knew my work visa. He knew when it expired. He knew everything. He had dug into me. He knew everything that nobody else knew but me. And so I said, "This is the man who's going to kill me." And he said, when Mario, does this Mario guy pay? Because, when someone asks him, when he asks people to do things, I said, "Oh, Mario, no way." And anyway, so I went and got my hatchet. There was just a lot of stuff there. I got my hatchet that I keep in my Land Cruiser. It was a 72 Toyota Land Cruiser. And I always keep it sharp. I always kept it ready, and for cutting whatever, firewood or whatever, not like cutting necks. And so I thought, hey, I'm going to just tuck this away and get it ready just in case. I was going to drive along on this road if we had to go, and then I was going to smash into a tree. I didn't have seat belts, So I smashed into a tree, and then I was going to cut his head off. I was just going to hack it off.
Mm.
Because if you kill a cop back then, that was 2002. If you kill a cop back then, they're going to hunt you down no matter where you are in the world. I mean, it was a real tight thing, you know. And so I thought I've got to take his head off, and then get rid of the head, so that because I was the last guy seen with the guy. So anyway, luckily, anyway, the story goes on, but he was like, "Hey, take me into town." And I was like, "Oh, I'll get you a taxi." He goes, "You want me to kill you right now?" He said it like 3 times, and so the way it ended was, he said, "I'm staying at your house tonight." And I go, because where he said he was going to stay, there was nowhere to stay. So I was like, "Hey," it turns out I knew his sister. I'd met his sister a few weeks earlier, and he said, "Is your dog named Blue, my black lab?" You know, and I go, he was in the Land Cruiser. I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Wait a sec, you know my sister Guadalupe or something, Lupita?" And I go, "Oh, Lupita, we could be brother-in-laws one day. She's a wonderful young woman. Maybe, anyway." So anyway, he ended up staying there, and I said, "Your sister told me that you're miserable." He had done some more cocaine, and he's like, "Yes, I am." And I said, "You're looking for peace in your life, aren't you?" He said, "Yes, and joy, and like unconditional love." And he started crying. He's like, "Yes, that's what I need in my life." And I said, "I found that." And he's like, "How can I have it?" I said, "Well, I found it through a really cool relationship with God, through Jesus. It's really cool." And he's like, "Well, how can I?" So I explained to him. I said, "Jesus paid for your sins when he died, so you wouldn't have to." And then they buried him. And then on the 3rd day, man, God raised him from the dead. And he did it so you could be in heaven with him. And if you believe that, if you're counting on it with your whole heart, man, you're one of us. And so I went through this 4 spiritual laws tract with him. Just kind of explained it, and we just talked through. And man, he prayed this prayer with me. He gave me a big old neck hug, and I was like, "Okay, that's nice and everything, but I still don't trust the guy."
Yeah, right.
So we're laying there in the bed, and he's like, there are two single beds, about 2 feet apart. And I was like, I'm waiting until his breathing gets real heavy and steady. And then me and Blue, man, we're out of there. We'll come back some other time. And I don't want to wake up, to a bad situation. And so, and laying there, just concentrating, laying there. And next thing I know, I'm seeing this bright light right in front of me. And I opened my eyes, and there was the sun coming up through the window. And I had fallen asleep, and he was there next to me. And I was still alive, no knife plunged into my heart or anything. And then he snorted some more cocaine, and I invited him to go to church with me. And he said he couldn't. He had to do some stuff, and that was the story.
Wow. Yeah, I got to do some stuff. I got to kill somebody else, but
Yeah. I hope I see that man in heaven. God's not looking for perfect people.
That's right.
He's looking for just people who believe him. Whatever he says is true. And so I believe that story. I believe it's 100% true. I'm super confident of it. And so I believe I'm going to see, his name was Israel. I named him something different in the book. But his name is Israel, and I'm confident I'm going to see him in heaven.
Yeah, I would say so.
Wouldn't that be cool?
That would be very cool. God's going to kill me. Look, I witnessed to him, and here he is.
Anyway, yeah.
You mentioned eBay earlier, and I mean, that's something that blows my mind. Like, how do you go from selling on eBay to being, a globally recognized brand? I got to imagine that there's got to be a lot of challenges that you face as you hit the growth, and how do you overcome stuff like that? I mean,
yeah. So I was selling on eBay. I didn't know what else to do, and I would have the bags sent up on the bus to Juarez, where I was living, across from El Paso, Texas, and I'd take a couple bags over to a friend's workshop at night. He was a Volkswagen mechanic, and I'd use it to sell on eBay, and I'd ship them out of there and that sort of thing. and it was going great. I was making a ton of money. I didn't know what to do with it all because the bags didn't cost me as much back then because they were lesser bags, but they were still nice bags. And anyway, I just had piles of cash everywhere. I was like, man, this is amazing. What do you do with all this? But I didn't really want to start a company. I just thought this would support youth work. I was working for Young Life at the time and trying to get it going in Juarez. And so it just kept selling and selling. Met my wife on MySpace, kept selling. And then we got married, and 9 months and 15 minutes later, we had a little baby girl. And I was like, oh man, I got to do something now for sure. And so we started supporting people to do youth work because I was too busy doing this job. And then it just kept going on eBay. And we were just on eBay, we were selling like only eBay, like $3 or $4 million a year on only eBay. And I was like, wow, this is great. So we started our own factory in 2008, and that's when I started getting a lot of money stolen from me. We started a factory in Mexico, but it was actually the FBI ended up getting involved and contacting me. Do you know this guy? And I couldn't put that part in the book, but different people that were involved in my life took advantage of me. I didn't know how to do business or anything, and I was more aloof, more distant from the business. I was doing the videos around the world, and we were gorilla trekking, and I would say, look at that gorilla there, but look at my wallet, and I was having a blast.
I bet.
But I didn't pay attention to my business, and I let someone else run it, and that was a mistake. But those are all parts of our lives where God grows us. And in the hard times is when we, you don't grow in wisdom and knowledge and understanding from just having a bunch of fun times. That you grow those through difficult times. And a lot of times those are blessings from God. They're just disguised as really hard times. But that's how you build character. So that's how God builds character. And I don't pass all the tests, and I still screw up a lot, but I've grown a lot from really hard times. My son, he's 16 now. He went off to Africa all by himself. He flew over through Turkey and Tanzania and got to Zambia, and they met him at the airport there. And it was his first big trip, and his backpack got stolen when he was in Zimbabwe.
Oh boy!
He got back a couple weeks ago without his laptop, without his camera lens, without his Bible, without all of his cool stuff, his Leatherman. Everything was gone. The guy took it all. And I said, Cross, did you thank God for that? And he said, well, yeah, I wasn't happy about it, but I sure did. And I thought, bingo, I did it. I raised him right, because he understands that God's shaping in him character, and to be thankful in all things, because this is the will of God for you in Christ Jesus. So and then when bad things happen, count it all joy, it says. And that's a test we come through, that I believe God, what he says is true, and he says that he works all those things out for our good and everything. So I'm trusting that all those bad things that happen were for good. I don't like them. Doesn't mean we have to, when we have a miscarriage or something like that. I didn't like that.
Right.
But I was thankful for what God was doing through it, and what he was going to do in the future, and what he's doing in us, and how he strengthened our marriage and different things like that. So yeah, that's a hard times come along, but it's you can either go, it's like a wedge is coming straight towards you. You can go up or you can go down in hard times. And when people go down, they really miss out. They miss out a lot. But if they go up and say there's this life is only temporary, um, then yeah, it's a it's a different.
No, no, I completely understand. You know, you either we say, you know, you don't lose, you learn. You know,
Yeah.
if you have, it's just nothing wrong with that. Let's talk about, you know, some of the community involvement that you got here. You know, can you elaborate on what you've been able to do with your wife Suzette with regarding Love 41 and how it impacts communities, specifically Rwanda? How did you get involved over there?
Oh yeah. So when we're making gobs of money, we're like, man, what do we do with it all? So we started setting it aside. Every month we'd set aside a lot of money, and because I feel like it's not my money, because if
Hmm.
what the Bible says, God said the whole world is His, and everything in it, including my shoes, your glasses, our money, our dogs, our kids, everything. So, so we we found a ministry that had to work with youth and education, which I loved, and then single moms, which my wife, she had a single mom living with her. She's got a heart of gold, and my wife's amazing, and so we started giving to this ministry called Africa New Life Ministries, and it's like Compassion International, something like that.
Hmm.
Well, they said in a couple of years later, the executive director, who I ended up going to school with before, he said, "Hey, Dave, why don't y'all come over to Rwanda and see what's happening with the money that you give?" And by the way, I'm not talking about the money we give um, to brag about it or to say, "Look at how good we are." Um, it's also to encourage people to say, "It's not your money, and you should consider giving to things and being generous." Um, right off the bat, because it's what the Bible says. But it's not to brag about anything, but it's just to let you know what we do. That's just the story. And so we go over there, and we're like, oh yeah, we're gonna go to Spain, and then we're going to the Seychelles, off the coast of Madagascar, and these islands. We're gonna go to Tanzania and safari. We're gonna do the bag pictures and videos, and I got some great content on that video on that trip. And then we get to Rwanda. We'll go see the gorillas, and we'll see that little ministry thing we do over there, and we're giving to. Dude, when we got to Rwanda, it was record stop screech.
Mm.
And I was like, oh my gosh, my kids were, 3 and 1, and I was thinking these little kids wandering the street, my kids my kids' age. And I was thinking they had a genocide in 94,
Yep.
and about 1 million people died in 90 days, funded by the French government. And uh, and all the training and all that. They have all the documentation of that. So anyway, but aside from that, I was looking at these kids and I thought, boy, what if my kids came to me and my wife and I were laying there dead in a pool of blood, and they were trying to shake us to wake us up, and they were hungry and they were crying, and they were scared. Would I want someone to come and hug the neck of my kids? Personally, would I want that? Or, send a check and get them into school, something. Would I want
Hmm.
that for my own kids? And when I realized, when it touched my heart, when I experienced, not knowing the facts that the other orphans, but when I experienced orphans and I internalized it, put it in my heart, not just my mind. Oh my gosh, I was like, we got to get some people here. So we started sponsoring some kids, and and then my wife wouldn't stop, and she became like mama to these boys and a whole bunch of boys. And so we've gotten very involved. Now they're getting married and going to college. A couple are in prison. It doesn't all turn out pretty.
Yep.
And but yeah, it's a real joy to. And we go over and see them. My wife, she's kept that alive. She's on them on WhatsApp, the messenger app. She's
Hmm.
with them all the time. And so we go over there and we go to weddings. I did the weddings of one of my boys last December. No, not this December, a year ago, December.
Hmm.
Uh, and yeah, it's been really, really neat. So we've probably taken over about 400 or 500 people over to Rwanda to visit their sponsored kids, or just to get involved in ministry outside of themselves. So it's been really a neat thing, really fulfilling.
Wow. Yeah, that's the whole story of the genocide and stuff like that. A lot of the American audience will probably be familiar with Hotel Rwanda, but there's some really great books out there. I'd encourage you to read up on the whole thing, Shaking Hands with the Devil, or We Wish to Inform You That Tomorrow Will Be Killed with Our Families. That's the name of a book, by the way. Or the movie, Sometimes in April. There's so many lessons to learn from that. Do you have a relationship with the government there, Paul Kagame in Rwanda?
No government people. Yeah,
Mhm.
some military people, but I have not met the president. I went to a prayer breakfast one time when he was a couple
Mhm.
tables over, but no, not. They wanted me to I wanted to manufacture shoes there and start up a factory,
Mhm.
and they said if you'll make them with Rwandans in Rwanda, we'll order 30,000 pairs a year, and and there's a lot to shoes where if you do them right, they have the right shape. They'll get your feet strong and they'll put your body back in alignment. No knee problems and no hip problems. All of that goes away. No plantar fasciitis. All of that goes away. Your back problems and stuff. If you make the shoes right. And so I thought I'm going to make them, and so they're durable. They can be resold. All of that sort of thing. They'll save money. And
Mhm.
but man, to find someone to manage something like that, oh my gosh, that's brutal. So I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And at about that time, I found some major theft, millions of dollars in the business uh, that uh, that I had to take care of, and so all of that kind of went to the end. But the government, yeah, it's a super solid government. They have signs up say, "Hey, if you suspect corruption, would you let us know about it? Here, call this number."
Yeah.
And there are generals in prison, there are senators in prison, or the equivalent ministers. They don't mess around.
Now they even put what's his name, Paul Rusesabagina, the manager from the McAleen Hotel. They put him in prison.
Yeah, hey, Rich, you're pretty familiar with Rwanda.
I've read a lot about Rwanda. Yeah, but yeah, they snatched him from somewhere, and yeah, that was a weird one because I don't know why they did that. I think he's been released at this point. Do you know anything about it specifically?
Yeah, apparently from what I've heard, there were lies in the book about him kind of being the hero
Mm-hmm.
in the movie, that they did a movie on it.
Mm-hmm.
He was kind of the hero of the thing when really it wasn't hardly even there, and this and that, and then he benefited and made a ton of money off of the national tragedy, and that was a no-no.
Yeah.
So they it was just a self-glorifying story, and so they're probably more involved too, but uh, they have different rules there. So like if you're living in a little community that if your field gets eaten by elephants or something like that in the middle of the night, you're grazed by hippos, and there are 9 other fields in the community, in the neighbors, they share with you. Everyone
Mm-hmm.
lives together in community, in a tribe, in they live together, and so if you're doing well, you support other people. So if all of a sudden you start a little store, or you have an idea for something, and it's going and going, and you're making money and everything, you add on to your house, you buy a car, dude, they're going to poison your cows, and they're going to say, "What are you doing? We
Right.
supported you. You support us. We live together. It's how we survive. And now you're just living for yourself." And so they'll poison your kids. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's some. So if you do have to move up, you move out of that community into the next level of class of community, and you buy a home, but you can't stay there because there are just unwritten rules of things you do and don't do.
Yeah. What is it? It may be Japanese saying. I don't know where it comes from, but the nail that sticks up gets hammered down. And but I think there's a lesson for all of us, especially here in America, where we are with othering right now. We're very partisan right now, and I think that if you see the Hutus and the Tutsis, what happened there, I mean, it can happen anywhere. It's and it scares the crap out of me. But
Yeah, that was a mess. It was and they were, we had a dog, my old dog Blue. My wife doesn't like cats, and so when we were newly married, she'd look out the back window into the backyard and go, "Oh, and see a cat," and she'd go, "Blue, Blue, kitty, 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 go get it, go get it, get it." And he would just start like, what, out of nowhere, start doing the Scooby Doo. We'd open the door, and he'd just scramble there, one spot on the tile, and he'd run out and look around for a cat. And she would get him so worked up that he would just be barking and had nothing. The cat would have already disappeared. And that's what the French did with the Rwandans and the Hutus, and they got them all riled up and all excited about killing and how it wasn't right, and all of that was for the Eastern Congo. That Rwanda is the gateway to the Congo and all the minerals and all the stuff there. So whoever owns Rwanda owns Congo, kind of rules Congo, gets all of that minerals and everything. So the United Nations, the United Nothing, and the French made a big mess out of that place.
Yeah, I tell you, I recently come across you talking about an interesting, I don't call it a conspiracy. It is what it is, and that is the killing of Dag Hammarskjöld, who was UN Secretary General. And I think he was assassinated maybe a year prior to Kennedy. And it all had to do with, they took a Belgian mercenary pilot and shot down the head of the UN's plane as it was coming into the Congo over what you're saying right now, mineral rights. They and that it just quietly happened, and the world moved on. And I'm like, well, and then Kennedy gets killed a year later, and like, I don't know. You want to go down the rabbit hole? That's a really interesting. The killing of Dag Hammarskjöld in 1960, 61 over mineral rights in the Congo. Like,
there are about $1 billion a year spent on peacekeeping troops in the Congo, and they're stationed all around mines.
Yes.
Yep. How about that? I wonder what that's all about. Yeah.
Well, it's the same thing, with us in Venezuela. I mean, we're getting way far afield here, but with regard to Venezuela and Greenland and these metals, and stuff like that. Anyway, I want to talk about heirloom products.
All right, let's go.
Let's get off this dark subject. What does it mean to create something like that? I mean, something that you can pass down through generations, not just a one-time use and then off it goes to a thrift store or something like that.
Well, so there's something. So my dad, when I was young, he said, "Son, if you don't smoke or drink till you're 21, I'll give you a gold watch, a gold pocket watch." And when gold was like $300 an ounce or something like that. And so I thought, I didn't do it for the watch, but I did it for my dad. I did it for God, is the right thing to do, not to break the law. So he ended up giving me cash instead because I was so in debt. I wish he'd give me that watch, and I just dealt with the cash with the but I was imagine that watch. I wanted that pocket watch. So then Grandpa's old pocket watch, and they fight over that, when I'm dead, and I didn't have it, and I just wanted something that, when I what do you call it? When I was having my bag made, I was thinking about that. I thought, when I'm dead, and just after the funeral, some of the grandkids go into Grandpa's office and they're rummaging through stuff, and someone finds the bag, the original bag, and they're like, "Oh, baby, this is mine." And then, "No, it's mine. It's not fair." And then they're fighting over it. Therefore, our slogan, "They'll fight over it when you're dead." And
Love it.
And I thought, not everyone's going to have a pocket knife or a harmonica that they played at the dinner table, or something that of Grandpa's, but a leather bag. And so I said, I want it no breakable parts. I want it super durable. I want it thick. I want it pro looking. I don't want it to look like a hippie bag or anything. And I just felt like, you buy nice or you buy twice.
Right.
And I started learning that with Toyota, their idea of manufacturing. And
another good book, The Toyota Way. I highly encourage people to read that book.
Oh man,
great book.
Toyota, and you know what? That interesting thing about Toyota, they said, as we were doing that, I designed the interior for a Tundra, 2024 Tundra, with Toyota, and we have really super thick leather, and it's all throughout, and it's got veins all over. It's fantastic. And um, and those guys, as I got in with Toyota for a few years, going to meetings and meeting executives and stuff like that, they are the most humble, kind. They're like, thank you for your time. Everyone goes to Toyota to die. That's where they work at Ford, they work at General Motors, and then one day, hopefully, if you're lucky, you can go work at Toyota, and that's where you retire from, because they are faithful and they are kind and humble. Oh my gosh, it's you first, me last. And so, yeah, those guys really get it right, but they're quality. And it's built like the Land Cruiser. They're like, if your life needs to depend on a vehicle, let it depend on a Land Cruiser. And that's their mindset with that. So everything's over engineered, over thick. They just don't break. And so I thought, I want it to be like that, because I had a Land Cruiser, an old Land Cruiser, and it just was just a workhorse. It was just a beast. I didn't have a radio, but man, was it just a beast. So, yeah, there's something about quality, I think, that we're wired for. We look at what's natural and we go, no, that's quality. Look at that wood. And then people try to make fake wood or a synthetic floor or some sort of fake fireplace, not stone. We look towards what's perfect, which is what's natural, and we go after that. And also, it feels really nice to have nice things that last. So we went to a Rolls-Royce event in London. We had a booth there. They had us in a coffee table book of theirs. And so I was asking everyone, I was like, because I don't have a Rolls-Royce. And I go, hey, why do you own a Rolls-Royce? All the enthusiast club was there, you know?
Yep.
And they're like, man, no one's ever asked me that before. But in a cool British accent. And they're like, you know, it makes me feel nice. They go, I've got a 1967 Silver Cloud, and it just sits in the garage, and I light it up once a month, and my friends don't even know I have it, and it just makes me feel nice. It's the epitome of class and elegance. It's the finest thing that man's ever made with their hands. It's this. And so I realized people collect camera gear, old cameras, they collect watches, or they have, I asked a guy, how much does your pin cost? And he goes, it's about $750. And I go, why do you have that? Like a Pilot G2, those write really nice. And he goes, it makes me feel nice. I've got a little piece of art in my pocket. And the guy who made it, it's this man named, you know, Mario Cucinelli or something. And he only does them in the daylight, and they have the story, and it makes them feel nice to have nice, high quality, beautiful things. God did the temple like that, and the tabernacle, and all these things, these dyed fabrics, and gold rings, and gold and hard to find woods. And I think we're wired for having beauty and having quality things that last, and they bring us joy.
I absolutely agree with you. Absolutely agree with you. To your point about Toyota, one of the things I loved about the book, it talks about the Toyota engineers send some Japanese engineers like, hey, just go see how people use their vehicles. And they would go and sit in like the Lowe's parking lot or Home Depot, and they're watching men and women and trying to put lumber in the back of it, and they'd come up and ask questions to an interpreter like, why are you struggling? Well, it would be really nice if it did this. And they're like, oh, it would be, you know, and they're writing down, like, so they, you know, took all these notes and came back and kind of started designing vehicles around the person instead of just, here, make this fit into your life. It's like, no, this is going to be beneficial to your life. And I think that's what, you know, Saddleback does, from what I understand. You know, this is something that's going to enhance your life. It's something that's not just stamped out. It's well thought out products, which makes me like, I know that you make pistol wraps and gun sleeves. Do you think you'll ever make handgun holsters?
You know what? I don't think so. There are so many different guns out there, and then so many different makers of the 911 and the
Mhm.
45 and the 357. I mean, so many. Like, you have to get that just right,
Yeah.
and so that's a toughie to do. So I'm just gonna bow the knee to all those other guys, and you guys go for it. I bow out of this, and but we'll do the. I've got a shotgun case, a hard case for guns coming up
Mm.
um, in the fall, right before hunting season, and some different scoped rifle cases and stuff like that. I got some of that stuff coming, or uh, and of course the range bag that we saw, and I've got some skeet shooting stuff, and but it's those are beautiful things, Berettas and Benelli shotguns and all that. I just have like a Remington shotgun.
Mm.
It's like I don't know, $500 shotgun, but some people, they value those really beautiful ones, and over and under and double, all that stuff. So yeah,
Yeah.
but no pistols. I'm not opposed, but I'll just let the experts do that. That's a lot of work, by the way.
Well, speaking of which, speaking of experts, Shan Hemphill is the owner of Works Holsters, and he is one of our holster sponsors. So glad to have you on. And he says he has so many pistol variations and Shan is the maker of the finest weapon-mounted light um, holsters on the market, period, bar none. And he can tell you, like, matching a Glock 45 to an Olight to a Surefire, and every one of them has to be precision made. It's and Jeff says yes, Shan would know. Yeah, I can't imagine where you'd even start unless you're just like, look, I'm going to make a Glock 17 holster and a 1911 holster and have a nice day.
So what's the name of this company?
Works.
Works. WORK or WER?
WERKZ, I believe. Shan.
Works.
Yeah.
All right.
Actually, good Christian man too. I mean, good, solid human being.
You know what? That's good to know. I'm going to write that down, because we have people all the time go, hey, do you know where I could buy a good old holster for this? Are you guys ever going to do those? And I go, nope. And I don't know anyone either. So
yeah, WERKZ.com. And Shan says exactly, Rich. Start with a Glock 17 and maybe 1911. Though there are a lot of variations. Yeah. So glad to have you on, Shan. And Shan is doing some things with lights. I mean, that is just amazing to me that nobody had been looking into candela and lumen and actually measuring these things. But Shan doesn't do leather, so there you go.
Shan, hat tip to you there, brother. That's a lot of work. And to do it right and that it lasts, that's a lot of work.
Oh, they're
a lot
fantastic.
Of people don't realize, they just buy something and go, oh, this is pretty. This is nice. Oh, this functions. Dude, it's a lot of work to get something right. Sometimes it's, 10 prototypes.
I can't imagine.
Each one of those is expensive and takes a lot of time, and you got to use it, and then it fails and it doesn't work, and it's kind of awkward, and you just keep changing and changing until it's perfect. And so that's a lot of work. People don't always understand that.
Well, in the gun, especially in that handgun space, because it has to be duty ready, and it has to be, like to gun grapple with this, to be in an entangled fight with this holster and have it not go skittering across the floor when you need it. These are some things that that he does a really good job. Dr. Fuller says that is so true. I've been pining away for one of your leather duffel bags, water bag, for years, purely because your gear is so well built. Pride of ownership is reason enough. Yeah.
So you know what happens when you get it? You're gonna go, dang it, why didn't I get this for years ago?
Mm-hmm.
I hear that all the time. Dang it, why didn't I get this years ago? Yeah, that's I hear that all the time. I do that. So we live in tents here.
I heard that about you guys. Is that for real?
Yeah, actually, we just had a video go. We have about 1.6 million viewers on it so far, where I show the back shower. We have a outdoor shower and indoor bathroom, but heated toilet seat and everything, but like outdoor shower, and it was snowy and icy recently, and so I shoveled. I was like, "Honey, you gonna get a shower?" She goes, "No, I don't want to. It's freezing out there. I don't want to walk on the ice and snow." There was like a big ridge of ice and snow where a drift was, And so I shoveled a little pathway in there, and then I got the hot water going. I go, honey, it's ready. She's like, no, 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 I don't want to. And so, but we once you get out there, it's really nice, and it's plenty warm and everything. And so I did a little video of her saying no, and then went out to the shower, and it's going crazy right now.
Wow.
But we got an instant hot water heater, and we're like, why didn't we do this 6 years ago? And then we had a tub, big old copper tub in the back, and we're like, oh, after we finally did it, why didn't we do that 6 years ago, 10 years ago? Every time we do something different, we go, oh, why didn't we do that 10 years ago? But I could have just pulled the trigger and did it. But, why didn't we do that? So a sign that you still want that bag, doctor, or that's a sign that just needs to happen.
I agree with you. He needs it. Let's see. Jeff says, do you have a recommendation for treating leather, whether it's mink oil, neat, foot? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So you don't want to have a leather conditioner that is a detergent that has like what is that one? Just
saddle soap.
Just saddle soap is good for cleaning it. It's pumpkin, really. It's squash. It's really basic stuff. It does a good job of cleaning, but it doesn't condition it. And so basically, here's the good guide. Look at the price. If you go, oh, this Lexol oil stuff, it's cheap, or Armor All, or some sort of leather conditioner, look, it's only $10. Man, run, because it's going to break down the seals, break down the colors that are in there. It's going to dry it out and crack. Once it starts drying out and cracking, once you've deteriorated the top layer of your leather, and that's what happens with those. It's a short-term fix when you use some sort of an oil on it. So we use Chamberlain's leather milk. In full disclosure, it's my sister, but she is raised by the same dad, who was like, just do it right the first time. And so all of her stuff is cosmetic grade. A lot of Ralph Lauren and a lot of places buy her stuff for their reconditioning. A lot of antique car collectors, use their stuff, her stuff for that. So that's Chamberlain's leather milk.
Can you get that on your website, Dave?
Yeah, you can get it. We have it on the website.
Okay, good.
We have videos. We have videos on how to condition and treat your leather. On YouTube, look up Saddleback Leather, leather care, leather conditioner for sofas, cars, all that sort of thing. But yeah, about once a year, just rub it down once a year. Just a nice little, just a conditioner, kind of cleans it. But that's generally, if you haven't done it once a year, then you should probably go do it. That's your car included. Yeah. And you're doing it for the next guy. You probably won't have your leather seats, that car, in 10 years, but do it for the next guy.
There you go.
So his leather doesn't start drying out and cracking and falling apart. You want someone to do that for you, or for your kids. You would want someone that the used car they bought, you'd want someone to have conditioned it, and the seats to last, and your furniture, and old if you have an old baseball glove, man, from your kid's little league baseball glove, that tiny little thing, man, go condition that thing. It's the right thing to do.
I agree. Michael, who knows a lot about manufacturing, says your genius is staying true to your principles and product knowledge. Not many have the faith in themselves to be seduced by new products, markets, and investors. Amazing. Yeah, that is something that you stay very. And I run a construction company as well, and I've been pulled by the market. Like, hey, will you guys do this? Will you guys do that? I'm like, we do foundations, waterproofing, and masonry. That's it. No, I'm not going to have my guys do something that they're not competent at, and we're not the best in our field at.
That's wisdom right there. And you know what else? The guy building our headquarters right now, I said, hey, it's made out of leather, like leather bales of leather, construction, and plastered over on the outside. But I said, it's going to be kind of a pretty cool thing. First building ever. And we're going to do all the video and marketing. You probably put it on your website. You want, make sure. He said, I don't have a website. And I said, how long you been doing this? And he said, 25 years. He said, I've got 5 crews going at all times.
Wow.
It's all word of mouth. And he said, and I don't want to grow. He said, why? He said, well, I have competitors who come in there, and they'll come in and he said one of my friends he was a competitor. He said, I'm gonna scale this thing. I'm gonna get crews, and I'm gonna do this and that. I'm gonna branch up into Oklahoma, and we're gonna have the whole North Texas and da da da. Boom, bankrupt.
Yeah.
It's a big beast that you have to feed. It's like having a little lion cub. And as that thing grows and grows and grows, if you could stop it from growing at a good, fun, cool rate, beautiful. But now you have to find it like a goat a day, you know, and the thing's just a ravenous beast. And then one thing goes wrong and you're screwed. And for what? And so he said, I don't want to grow. I'm happy doing what I'm doing. So, yeah, that's a beautiful thing.
I agree. And that kind of tailors into my next question, you know, as far as your future vision for Saddleback, you know, looking ahead, what are your goals in the next decade? How do you see the company evolving, and, you know, maybe even evolving beyond just you in this short life that we've been given?
So our banker, he's like, hey, what's your exit plan? Because you're going to exit, whether they find you face down at your desk in the morning, or you sell it, or your kids get it. He said, well, your kids, what if they just run into the ground? Like, what do you want? What do you want of this? I said, man, when I'm dead, I don't care. Like, who cares? Like, my kids will be fine. Hopefully my daughter marries a good man and who's a good provider, and hopefully it'll make them stronger. I don't care. But there is a little something, I do care. But so my son recently has been taking an interest. He's 16. So I have him working in the marketing department, because a lot of the keeping the brand true, not using AI for it just vomits out slop. And it steals the creativity of the humans and the beauty, then the mistakes that only humans can do. That is, imperfect is perfect. And so there's it just regurgitates stolen goods off the internet, and then it spits it out to you. And so making sure he keeps the brand strong and all that sort of thing. I'm 54, and I really have fun with this. So I don't see getting out anytime soon. And it's our ministry. We get I just share the gospel with everyone on your podcast, by the way. And whether they believe it or not, it's up to them. That's not my responsibility. I'm just told it. But being able to do that kind of thing, we get to travel, and I mean, like, why would I want to do it? So we're moving into shoes and boots, very high quality.
I've seen that on your website. They're beautiful.
Yeah, I had knee pain and all that stuff, hip discomfort and plantar fasciitis. My Achilles tendons were hurting on and off for about 15 years, until I wore the boots for about 4 months, and all of that went away. And I was like, oh, we got to let people know about this. But I wanted to make them really, really nice. So we make them in Italy. We're making some hiking boots in England. And then I have to travel over there, which is like, oh, bummer. But they're perfect every time. So moving into that, and I have an office chair that everyone's like, well, hot dog, that's gorgeous. Your office chair is amazing. So I can see getting involved and start doing some of those just stuff that I use, that I love, and that other people would love too. So I make things that I like.
Do you do bespoke products at all, Dave?
No.
One-offs?
No. Well, I did a leather eyeball one time, and it was like a Mad Max kind of eyeball around the patch. It was an April Fool's joke. It was a one-off. I did a maximalist wallet. It fit into both back pockets at the same time. I do April Fool. I did a coffin. I did a leather coffin. That's really cool. So there's some one-off things. But I don't make them for people. I do them more for jokes.
Gotcha.
So I might do a leather frying pan one of these days. But yeah, no, we don't do bespoke. It's too It's very time consuming.
You built a successful brand literally from the ground up, and the folks that are on here today are going to listen in the podcast to come. What advice would you give to inspire, or aspiring entrepreneurs to make so that their business can have a long lasting positive impact?
I would say your business will go like you do. So I would say work on you. And I got to have lunch with Zig Ziglar back in the day. And right a couple years before he died, I sat right across the table from him. His son invited my friend who invited me and my sister and brother. So I was sitting right across the table from him, the most successful man in America. In my generation, the most successful man ever. 30 some odd books and lives changed, everything. He's a nice Christian fella, taught Sunday school at his church. And I said, if you could leave us with one book about success, like what would you leave us with? Like if all your stuff disappeared off the face of the earth, you could leave us only with one book. He said, these were all others focused. He said, court your spouse because success starts at home. And then he said, encourage everyone. And he said, try to help everyone around you to be as successful as they can be. So court your spouse, encourage everyone, try to help everyone around you to be successful. He said, if you do those things, he said, those kind of people have everything they ever wanted or dreamed of.
Yeah.
And so to be others focused. So I would start with, I've heard servant leadership and all that sort of these terms, but no one really knows what they mean. Like there's no real good definition. I would say serve your people. So a couple years ago, I was sitting in my chair and I said, hey, to my daughter, hey, honey, could you go grab me one of those? It was right by her, this little fridge. Could you go grab me one of those little fizzy drinks, those, soda water things? And she goes, why, Dad, just get it yourself. And I go, she rolled her eyes, and my son did it too. And he's like, I go, hey, son, I need you to go do that. Why don't you do it? And what are my kids are like me. What? So what I realized is that I wasn't serving, I was serving Rwanda, serving Mexico, the people, serving my employees, serving my family by providing and protecting. But I wasn't serving. And so what I realized that was on me. And Jesus, he didn't come to be served, but he came to serve. And he made fish, he gutted the fish and made breakfast for the disciples. He washed their feet. He did these physical tasks. So I said later that night, I said, honey, can I rub your feet without anything in return, any expectations? She goes, who are you? Like, what'd you do with my husband? And then the dog, we came home and the dog had torn into the trash. It was all over the yard. And I said, who left that trash bag out? Sella, my daughter. She's like, oh. So she went down to her tent and I'll get it. And I left the lights on the truck and I went and got it all. And she came out. She goes, who picked up the trash? I said, oh, I did it for you, sweetie. She's like, and they started noticing, and I was like, hey, can I get you some more milk, son? Hey, I'll get the chickens in, tonight, and my son's job or whatever. I started serving them in physical, actual ways. Hey, why don't you guys here, have that last one? I'm full. Hey guys, I warmed your seat up for you. Hey, in these little ways, my wife would be in a shower, I'd jump on her side, I'd warm her bed up, and then I'd scoot over, and then she gets in bed and is like, oh, it's warm. So little actual serving people, in not just like serving them by providing a job for them, but serving them. You work on that and you watch what happens with your business. You work on yourself becoming a servant, and you will attract good people around you. You will have people who will give you good ideas because the good people will be attracted to be around you. They'll want to give you ideas. They'll help you, and God will be blessing. He likes that when we serve others and when God is the focus. That's If you're a believer, I mean, if you're not, man, just start right there serving people. If you are, man, be letting people know about what's important to you. If your relationship with God is not important to you, then ask God and go, hey, God. And also, if you're not a servant, I don't really want to serve. So just ask God, go, hey, God, could you make me into the kind of man who likes to serve? Because I'm not really, I don't want to do it. It's a burden to me. But would you shape me into an others focused person? Because honestly, I'm not. I'm pretty self-centered and workaholic, and I want to get everyone praising me for how amazing I am and how much I've accomplished and all that sort of thing. Yeah, I kind of like that. But rather, I want people to lift up my wife and my kids. I want their self to be raised. And so I would say work on being on a, and I'm not perfect at it either. You guys, believe me, I have plenty of selfishness in me. But I want to be more humble, more others focused, which is
Right.
God first, me last, my family first, me last, my employees first, me last. That's what I want, because the only time Jesus ever described his heart, he said it's humble. That's the only time he ever described his heart. So I want, and it was others first, me last. And so that's what I try to do, but I am wildly unsuccessful at times.
Yeah, we all are, that's for sure.
And the other one would be get a vision. And here's the idea of that. Really simple. I put this in the book too. Here's what you do. You close your eyes and imagine yourself getting into a time machine, okay? And then you get out 3 years later. Let's just start 3 years later. You get out and you go, oh, look, there I am sitting at the desk. And you kind of come around. What are you looking at? What are you doing? Oh, hey, I want to look into my bank account. You go, look, what's in the bank? Hey, how are the financials? Do I have a reserve? Do I have this? Hey, what does my product line look like? What's my marketing department? What's manufacturing and sourcing look like in the supply chain? What kind of employees do I have here? I would say you look at that and then write that down. What you would love to see if everything went right. What would you like to see? And guess. Just guess. And don't go like, yeah, I want to have 10 million in the bank, and I want to be consulting with the president of the United States. But what's realistic, and what would you like to see if everything went well? And then share that with your wife. Share it with whoever you are. Share it with your husband. If you're an entrepreneur, your vision is probably the most important thing that you can do. And what's your profitability? And what's your growth? And put that in there. 10% growth, 25% profitability every year, if that's what it is. But the bottom line of a business is money in the bank at the end of the year. How much money in the bank do you have? That's the bottom line for business. What you do with it, you can start an orphanage or you can buy a cabin in Colorado. But how much money you have in the bank is the bottom line for a business. It's profit. And so if you're not making profit, you take your top line revenue. We had a guy come in, a friend of ours, and he ran a $12 billion company. And he retired and he was bored and he's a friend. So I said, could you help me with my business? And he always did the mergers and acquisitions, and they would acquire a $500 billion business. And he would talk to him just like this. He would say, and he talked to us just like this. He said, you guys, you have your top line sales revenue, and then under that line, you have all your expenses that it costs to get that. And then if you deduct all those costs from your top line, on the bottom line is your profit. That's what it's all about, that bottom line. And if you're at like 3% or 5% or 8%, like something's wrong. So he said, to get more profit, you can do it two ways. You can get more sales, but not increase your costs. Or you can keep your sales the same and reduce your costs. So he said, when we go into a new business that's at 5% or 4% or 8%, and it should be at 25, he said, we start cutting. And then so we did all these cuts at Saddleback at the factory and these different places. And we're like, oh no, I've been paying that salary for all these years and they didn't do anything. The business didn't change.
Exactly. Yep.
And so if you can cut, and don't look at saving paper clips and, you know, making
Mm-hmm.
the print smaller on your printer so that you save ink, work
Mm-hmm.
on your top 3 things first. Work on, you look at, sort them all out, biggest to smallest, all your expenses, your groups, be salary, cost of materials, shipping. That was ours. And if you can save 1% on that, on your salaries, that's like saving 50% on office supplies
Mm-hmm.
or 150%. It's like now you get free office supplies. And so we were like, do we really need this person? Do we really need that person? Um, and we started making cuts, and man, and so the bottom line just started getting, we started having more profit because we weren't very profitable. And I was just talking to a guy the other day. He's at 8% profitability, and he's a small company, probably $1 million a year. And I said, well, you can either get more sales or you can cut your expenses. And he turns out he had about $200,000 of expenses he could cut at $1 million.
Dang, that's huge.
2 people he absolutely did not need. They were making $22 an hour, which is $57,000 a year, fully burdened with payroll tax and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, what if you didn't have those? And then the warehouse they work out of, which is $2,000 a month. And what if your materials? And I walked through all that stuff with him. He was like, holy cow. He should be now he's at 26. He will be soon at 26% profitability instead of at 8%, just by cutting stuff. And so one of the big problems that entrepreneurs have is they hire too many people. And a lot of times is we don't know how. I did it. I'm still tempted. I don't know how to do something, so I hire someone instead of figuring it out and figuring out how we can do it or add it to other people's responsibilities, you know, divvy it out, that sort of thing. You just hire, and then you hire again, and you hire again, and pretty soon you don't have any profit because you hired too many people. It happens. That is the big one. Hiring too many people. That is a huge one. And again, that's because of inexperience and not knowing how to run a business. So
yeah, that's solid advice. And I see so many entrepreneurs that'll literally step over dollars to pick up dimes, you know, to your point about making font smaller, and we're going to print on both sides of the piece of paper. I'm like, yeah, but your waste over here is extraordinary. But you don't want to see that. You don't want to fix that problem because that might not take you 15 minutes. It's like, come on, don't do that. You know, like,
and hiring, that's a killer. So I put all that in the book, just examples and whatnot, but like of our story, but like hiring, some family, man, I would hire them twice. I would hire them in a heartbeat. But some family, oh my gosh, once you hire family, I had to let my sister go. And she was working too much. She was so faithful. And but for a bunch of reasons I had to let her go. And it was really hard. We didn't talk for years. And it just made me sick. So I would say, you can ask a family member, go, hey, listen, hey, Bill, I've got this thing coming up. Do you think you could help me for a couple months? I just need someone temporary to get us through this tough time. I know you're looking for a job. You know, you've had 10 jobs this year. And so what about this one? You know, and you're like, don't hire Bill. But if you think maybe they've just been mislotted, you go, well, could you help me for a couple of months? And you think, oh, I'm so glad I didn't have them. It's like pushing a rope to get them to, you know, do anything, for anything to move.
Yeah.
You got them for 2 months. You go, Bill, thank you so much. I'm so glad that I really needed you for those 2 months. And then you're like, whew. Or you go, Bill, you were amazing. Can you come on full time?
Right.
So temporary assignments with employees. Hey, you think you could help me for a couple months out of customer service in this area? And if you would just move them over, and it's an pay increase, and then you move them back because they sucked at it, they quit. And they were really good in customer service, and they really stunk it up over here. So give everyone temporary assignments. Hey, do you think you could help me out for a month or two? We really need some help over here in this little time right now. And if they work out, you move them over permanently.
I love that idea. What is the name of your book, Dave, and where can folks pick it up? I know I'm going to be ordering it on Amazon today.
they'll fight over it when you're dead.
I love it.
And we were blessed with, it's just a good story that God created. And we got audio book of the year for
Wow.
2025. And
Did you read it, Dave, or did you have somebody read it?
Oh yeah, I read it. I read it like we're sitting next to each other driving down the road, and I tell some extra stories in there, and sort of kind of fill in and emphasize things. So it was a fun read.
Oh, great. And where can folks follow your business, follow your Christ-focused journey, follow your company? Where can we do all that?
Yeah, saddlebackleather.com. Instagram is Saddleback Bags, or Saddleback Leather on Instagram or Facebook. We have a lot of entertaining YouTube, Saddleback Leather on YouTube. We have a Not Dead Yet show. We have about 75 episodes, just kind of behind the scenes, the tents, or just little things, just kind of fun, what we value, what's important to us. We share those, and we have a lot of fun.
Nice. Well, Brian says, sir, you're a fascinating man. Thank you for giving us your time. And thank you, Rich, for having him on. It's been a pleasure, Dave. And maybe we'll have to do this again here in the future.
Yeah, that was great. You're an easy one to talk with. So it sounds like I kind of wish we were neighbors. That'd be
same. It'd be a lot of fun, wouldn't it?
Yeah, a lot of fun. So, well, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it, Rich.
Thank you for being on. Guys and gals out there in Warrior Nation, remember the fight is coming. Be ready.